Hello everyone, this is Mrs. Strack here. I'm going to read to you The Mysterious Tadpole. The skill we're working on this week is story structure, which what I've always told my class, those are the bones of the story. It's what you have to have in a story. Those are characters, the setting, which is when and where the story takes place, the problem or the plot, the solution, and the important events that happen in this story. So here's The Mysterious Tadpole by Stephen Kellogg. It's one of my favorite stories we read this year. This page. "Greetings, nephew," cried Lewis's Uncle McAllister. "I've brought a wee bit of Scotland for your birthday." "Thanks," said Lewis. "Look, Mom and Dad, it's a tadpole." Lewis named him Alphonse and promised to take very good care of him. Lewis took Alphonse to school for show and tell. "Class, here we have a splendid example of a tadpole," exclaimed Miss Shelbert. "Let's ask Lewis to bring it back every week so we can watch it become a frog." So already I know my characters are Uncle McAllister, Lewis, Mom and Dad, and we have Mrs. Shelbert and all of his classmates, and we have Alphonse. Miss Shelbert was amazed to see how quickly Alphonse grew. "Maybe it's because he only eats cheeseburgers," said Lewis. When Alphonse became too big for his jar, Lewis moved him to the kitchen sink. "He's the perfect pet," said Alphonse. He's only eating cheeseburgers. Lewis and Alphonse loved to play games. "Be careful, Lewis," said his mother. "The living room is not a soccer field. Something is going to get broken." We've had quite a few settings here. We've had the living room, we've had the sink, and we've had school. And she was right. The same day, the soccer ball slammed into Aunt Tabitha's antique lamp. "This tadpole is out of control," said Lewis's mother. "Something must be done." "It won't happen again," promised Lewis. "I'll take Alphonse to obedience school." Obedience school is where you usually take dogs, so they behave. But we already have a problem in this story, and that problem is they're breaking things. So they're going to solve it by taking Alphonse to obedience school. The only animals at obedience school were dogs. Some of their owners stared at Alphonse suspiciously. "Pretend you're a dog," whispered Lewis. Alphonse tried to bark, but it sounded like a burp. "Hold on a minute," said the trainer. "What kind of dog is this?" "He's a hairless, spotted water spaniel from Scotland," explained Lewis. Alphonse quickly learned to sit, stay, and retrieve. He graduated at the top of his class. "My parents will be very pleased," said Lewis. So it looks like we solved that problem. But Alphonse is getting so big. But Lewis's parents were not pleased when Alphonse outgrew the sink and had to be moved to the bathtub. "This shower is too crowded," complained Lewis's father. "This bathroom is a mess," moaned Lewis's mother. And here we see Alphonse in the bathtub, and he's taking up the whole bathtub. So that seems to be another problem we have. Now, he doesn't really look like a frog. I wonder if that's why the story is called The Mysterious Tadpole. At least Lewis's classmates enjoyed Alphonse, who was still making weekly visits. "Wow, show and tell is more fun than recess," they yelled. But one day, Miss Shelbert decided that Alphonse was not turning into an ordinary frog. She asked Lewis to stop bringing him to school. If you'll notice here at the back, Miss Shelbert has a chart of what a frog is supposed to be. And Alphonse does not look like a frog. We all know what a frog is, kind of small. I don't think they're orange, and I don't think they do handstands. By the time summer vacation had arrived, Alphonse had outgrown the bathtub. "We could buy the parking lot next door and build him a swimming pool," suggested Lewis. "Be sensible," declared Lewis's parents. "Swimming pools are expensive. We're sorry, Louis, but this situation has become impossible. Tomorrow you will have to take your tadpole to the zoo. But I can't put my friend in a cage, cried Louis. And look how big his head is now. He's trying to solve the problem of building a pool, but his parents won't let them. That night, Louis was very sad, until he remembered that the gym in the nearby high school had a swimming pool. Louis hid Alphonse under the carpet and smuggled him inside. Nobody uses this place during the summer, whispered Louis. You'll be safe here. Seems like a good solution until they have to use the pool. After making sure that Alphonse felt at home, Louis said goodbye. I'll be back tomorrow with a big pile of cheeseburgers, he promised. Louis came every afternoon to play with Alphonse. In the mornings, he earned the money for the cheeseburgers by delivering newspapers. The training continued as well. Louis would say, Alphonse, retrieve. And Alphonse would succeed every time. As summer vacation passed, Louis became more and more worried about what would happen to Alphonse when the high school kids returned. I wonder what he's going to do about that. After his first day of classes, Louis ran to the high school and found the gym bustling with activity. The swim team was heading to the pool. Stop! Cried Louis. On your mark, bellowed the coach. Get set! Excuse me, sir, said Louis. Go! Roared the coach. Now I can predict what the problem is going to be. They're going to jump in that pool and they're going to jump on Alphonse. Alphonse rose to the surface to welcome the swimmers. It's a submarine from another planet, shrieked the coach. Call the police. Call the Navy. No, it's only a tadpole, said Louis. He's my pet. Now, do you think that's a tadpole? Because I've seen tadpoles before and they don't look like that. And they're certainly not that big. I wonder what he actually is. The coach was upset and confused. You have until tomorrow, he said, to get that creature out of my pool. Louis telephoned his friend, Miss Severs, the librarian, and asked for her to help. I'll be right there, she said. So we have a couple more characters here. The swim coach, we have Miss Severs. Our main character, though, is Louis and Alphonse. Miss Severs rushed to meet Louis at the high school. When she saw Alphonse, she was so startled that she dropped her purse into the water. Retrieve, said Louis, and Alphonse did. Where did this astounding animal come from? Cried Miss Severs. It was a birthday gift from my uncle, Louis replied. Miss Severs telephoned Uncle McAllister. Oh, the wee tadpole, he said. Why, he came from a lake nearby. It's the ones the folks call Loch Ness. Brace yourself, Louis, Miss Severs said. I believe your uncle found the Loch Ness monster. I don't care, cried Louis. Alphonse is my friend and I love him. He pleaded with Miss Severs to help him raise enough money to buy the parking lot so he could build a big swimming pool for Alphonse. Now, the Loch Ness monster is a legend or a myth, something that's not real, but some people claim they have found it. Suddenly, Miss Severs had an idea. Long ago, a pirate ship sank in the harbor, she said. No one has ever been able to find it, or its treasure chest, but perhaps we can. The next morning, they drove to the harbor and rented a boat. This is a treasure chest, cried Louis, showing him a picture there. Retrieve! Alphonse disappeared under the water. And there Alphonse is. Looks like he found the pirate ship. and returned with the chest. It was filled with gold and jewels. "Let's buy the parking lot and get to work," cried Miss Severs. Lewis's parents were shocked to see a construction crew in the parking lot. "Lewis," they cried, "what in the world is going on here?" "Alphonse found a pirate treasure ship," explained Lewis, "and we used part of the gold to buy you this present." I wonder what present they're going to buy them. Lewis's parents were shocked once again. "Tickets for a vacation cruise to Hawaii," they gasped. "And," said Lewis, "you don't have to worry about us because Granny has agreed to babysit." They hugged Lewis. They kissed Alphonse. "How soon can we leave?" they cried. "Immediately," said Lewis. By the time Lewis's parents returned, the swimming pool was being enjoyed by everyone in the city. Oh my goodness. It looks like Alphonse is enjoying the swimming pool. I'm not sure this page is in your book. A week later, Lewis said, "Alphonse, tomorrow is my birthday, which means you've been my best friend for a whole year." The next day, Uncle McAllister arrived for the party. "Greetings, Lewis, my lad," he exclaimed. "I've come with a curious stone from the hills of Scotland. Happy birthday!" "Wow, thanks," said Lewis. Suddenly, the stone began to tremble and crack. Now, knowing what I know earlier, I'm not sure that's really a stone. And if we look at this last page here, it looks like something is coming out of that stone. And that's the end of our story. So this week we are working on story structure. So our characters in this story, which every story has to have a character, are Alphonse, Lewis, Mom and Dad, Mrs. Severs, Miss Shelbert, we have the swim coach, and there's a bunch of other minor characters. Our setting, this happens in whatever town Lewis is in, and it takes place over the course of a year because we know Lewis gets Alphonse at his one birthday, and then the story ends at his next birthday, which we know between birthdays is a year. We have several problems in this story. The first problem is Alphonse isn't obedient, and they solve it. They have the solution to that problem by sending him to obedience school. Another problem they have in this story is Alphonse is getting so big they have nowhere to put them. They solve that problem by putting him in a swimming pool. Our last problem is they don't have enough money to make the swimming pool, and they can't have him at the high school swimming pool. They solve that problem by Alphonse retrieving the treasure chest and using that money to buy their swimming pool. We have a couple of major events that happen in this story. I would say those major events are Lewis gets Alphonse. Alphonse keeps getting bigger and bigger, and they have nowhere to put him. They go to obedience school. He retrieves the treasure chest, and they build a swimming pool. I hope you all enjoy this story. It's one of my favorites that we read all year. And have a great week.